Hello YouTube, this is Matt here with another workbench special. This is on NEM pocket converters, so skip if you're bored. Thanks to John for sending in his Carriage. This is another request through eBay. Like everyone's sitting down during lockdown doing small projects or wanting to convert things. Like many, John wants to convert his older stock to the new modern outline, which is NEM pockets. So thank you to John for sending his Lima Mk1 Carriage in to be converted. Had this for a couple of weeks and printed a few samples, and I think we're about there now with the design. So these converters don't just do Mk1s, they do Mk2s and 3s. So B1 bogies, B4 bogies and BT10 bogies, as they all have a similar sort of coupling on it and also a similar area to put it. So just bringing up the Carriage. So this is a standard Mk1 Lima Carriage. You can see here we've just cut into the support surface on the underside, and the converter just glued on the top surface and is at the right height. It's already been checked, so I know it works. So I'll take you through step by step how to convert one of these Lima Mk1s, and then we'll go into seeing how it lines up with the coupling height gauge, and then give you some details on its availability and when they could be expected and price range. Of course, they'll be available in 4s and 16s via my online shop and possibly eBay. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's get straight to it. So I've turned the Carriage upside down, and you can see here the big D type coupling. This is sort of stepped, so it's slightly higher on the top surface. You can see it's about a millimetre or so above the surface, so we need the coupling or the pocket to be at that height. So to get the bogie off, it's quite simple. These are just clipped in, not riveted or anything, so just pull and they come apart. So there you can see the bogie we need. I'll just put the Carriage to one side for safety, and you can see the big D type coupling, and we need to remove this and make a channel in the middle for the coupling converter to fit. Okay, so the coupling hook's been removed, and it's all been sort of readied to be cut up and changed into what we need. Now I'm going to mention before going forward, this is a Mk1 Carriage. On the Mk3s, for example, and Mk2s, there's small variances in this sort of bogie coupling arrangement. So this part here between the big D and the front of the bar on the front of the bogie, that ranges in length. So Mk3s have a longer type, and I think B4 bogies have a slightly longer, and this one's slightly shorter. And you always need to keep in mind where you need your pocket. When I was doing prototypes and changes on this, I had to trim off a couple of mil on the support material here and bring it backwards, because even in the correct location, I was using a Kadee 17, which is okay, but it was still too far forwards, so I had to pull it backwards. So always measure and cut once or twice, depending how far you want it forwards. I've taken about a couple of mil off the front of the other bogie, so I know where I need to be with this one. So quite simply, we need to get rid of this big D type coupling. I'm using some cutters, so you just need to clip them off. It's already broken. That's gone. So that just leaves you with the surface here. Now you're going to probably wonder about this, where the coupling hook used to clip onto. Don't worry about that, that will form part of the hole. So if you look, you can see the height of the front of the or the back of the coupling is slightly higher than the surrounding material. So we don't really need this front bit. so we can take that off. But if you put the coupling converter next to it, you can see it's the width of this piece of plastic here. So what you need to do is then go back and check where you need the front of this new pocket, and I'll just check that now and get back to you. Okay, so this is the high-tech solution to finding where you need your coupling pockets. I'm using a bit of blue tack, which you can see I've just whacked on there. So this coupling pocket needs to be back a little bit further, as you can see. Kadees, which I'm using, although you can use a coupling of your choice or whatever you wish to use. Now with Kadees, you need the flat section of the coupling, which is just behind the bar there, to be in line with the ends of the buffers or the corridor connector. And as you can see, it needs to sit quite far back, so I've got about 1.5 millimeters from the front, or sorry, the end of the plastic to the front of the coupling pocket. Or you can see it lines up quite nicely the back of the pocket with this stretcher bar across. So I need to cut off 1.5, maybe 2 millimeters, because obviously this hooks over the back of the pocket. So give that a measure now, hopefully, if we can zoom in on it. So it's approximately 2 millimeters I need to cut off there, because it needs to be in line with that surface here, which glues onto the front of the plastic. So I need to cut off 2 millimeters back, and then I need to cut a channel. So I'll do that now and we'll see how it looks. Okay, so a few moments of cutting later, you can see I've cut off the 2 millimeters that I need to get rid of. So the next stage is really to get rid of this little bump here. So we need to file that flat, and then we need to aim and line up where the pocket will go, including the channel. Now what I've done on the other bogie is basically cut the channel from this cutout here going up. You'll have a little bit more room on that side than this side, but it still works quite well. So I'll just remove a little hook clip, and we'll get on to lining it out or marking it out. Okay, so I cut the little clip off with a knife just there, just needs filing down a little bit. So what I've done is I've put the converter on the end of a bit of blue tack, but this will give you the width of the pocket, so you can basically line it up, go down each side and score it. Now as you can see, this hangs over into this channel here, which is not a big issue, to be honest with you, because it just means less cutting. But this will go back to here, so the pocket's about 7mm long, so it's a standard NEM pocket size. So what I'll do is I'll mark it out, a bit down that side as well. And what I'll do is I'll put the disc cutter down here. You can do it with a saw, some drills, or a file, and I'm going to use just a disc cutter, cut it straight down, and then we'll see how it all fits together. Okay, you join me back here after cutting the groove out. You can see here, so it goes quite far back, so that is pretty much done. So what I suggest you do at this stage is to loosely fit a coupling pocket. Mine's quite tight, so it actually holds where it is. So this is a Kadee 18 you can see in here, and that's slotted on, you can see there. And now what I'll do is I'll bring that over to the height gauge and we'll have a look. So on the test track with its Kadee height gauge now, as I always say, this one is sagging slightly, so should be a little bit higher than what it is, but we'll line it up. Now this pocket is not glued on, so it's just loosely fitted, as you can see. So just line it up. Perfect. So no additional cutting, shaping, sanding or anything like that. So that's good, and now I'm happy. I will again check it with the carriage body attached to the bogie, and after that I'll remove it and then I will fix the converter in place. So with the body on, everything lines up. The connector or the flat surface of the Kadee is in line with the buffer heads, so all good, happy. We'll now move on to the gluing of the converter onto the bogie. So now happy, I can remove the converter, which leaves us with the normal surface again. So what I normally do is just roughen up this surface with a little bit of sandpaper and just sort of get it prepared for some glue. Now, as we're working with plastic and resin, because these converters are made out of resin, now I normally use super glue, which I generally do because it's a strong bond, and the bond is only broken with a really heavy impact with a hammer, and we're not going to take a hammer to our models, are we? So generally I use super glue, and that's what I recommend. However, you can use sort of epoxy resin or Araldite, that works just as well. A little bit messy, but as I say, less is more. So I'll add some glue to this and wait for it to dry and do a double check. So you join me back after adding the coupling converter onto the bogie. Pretty straightforward. As I mentioned before, I wanted to take off the shine to the plastic because it's injection molded. So you can either use some sandpaper or a fiberglass pencil like this. So I roughened up the surface, took the shine off it, added some glue. As I mentioned, make sure your coupling converter fits in the hole or the slot you've created. Make sure it's reasonably snug but not too tight. You shouldn't be forcing the converter into a hole that doesn't fit, otherwise it breaks. So that's all been glued on, and I'm reasonably happy with that. Looks good. Doesn't pull out, so nice and strong bond. Just need to check your coupling still fits, make sure there's no glue in the way. As you can see, it clips in nicely, nice and secure and pretty good. Again, I'll just check it on the height gauge, should be okay. And as mentioned, these are prototypes, so these will be going out to be tested very shortly. But I hope this instruction video has helped, and hopefully got a few of you interested who might be interested in buying some of these. If so, they should be available sometime in March, I hope, along with PTA wagon converters as well, which are already being printed. Anyway, thank you for watching. Keep an eye on the Facebook group or page, and also my shop as well, which is on Made Me. Just look for NEM. I'm the only model person on there at the moment, so it's quite easy to find. So give us a look down in the description. Plenty of converters now, so hopefully there's something for most models out there. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next encounter of coupling converters.